early adopters. So right at the start of my presentation, I showed a slide looking at technology uptake by shoppers, comparing the general population with early adopters. That's a segmentation that our Shopper Vista research team has made based on a number of different behaviours and demographic reads. It's certainly something I can provide more information on to the person who's asked the question. But they're an interesting group because early adopters, and we talk a lot here about influencer shoppers, certain groups are the ones really to try out new technologies and new campaigns on because they're particularly receptive to the new. Do self-scanning machines count as in-store technology is another one that's come in. It really just depends how you define technology. So from a customer experience point of view, it's definitely not one of the most exciting technologies, but for that particular question that we went out to shoppers, it was included in the read there. I've had a question here about there being a lot of technology in the examples that I've given in stores, and what about non-tech innovations that we've seen? An interesting example on this one is Albert Heijn in the Netherlands. So Albert Heijn is doing loads of really interesting stuff around payment and technology, self-scan and all those sorts of things that we've covered in this presentation. But one of its franchisees has also done something quite contrasting, and they've introduced a slow checkout. That's a checkout for people who want to have a more leisurely experience and are interested in having a conversation and a social side of shopping, so that they can elect to go through that channel when they come to payment, and there's no pressure on them to speed up. You know, they're not taking up anybody's time unnecessarily, so they can enjoy that aspect of the shopping journey, which is a really nice contrast. And it's one of the ways stores actually can win versus the online experience. That aspect of human interaction is really valuable to some shoppers, and certainly not something to overlook for that particular the group that would appeal to. I've had a question, why is the UK so behind other markets? And another one saying, why isn't there more technology in UK stores? And this is a really interesting area. I think a lot of it is shopper-led. So to think of a recent UK example, we know that Sainsbury's has tried app-only and mobile payment-only stores near its head office in Holborn very recently. And after the trial, it's not continued. And I think there is a point about shopper uptake. We know that shoppers are very busy, and that convenience is of the utmost importance to them. If they don't see the benefit of the technology that's being used, and if it doesn't add value for them, then uptake is not likely to be high. So it's about being very, very targeted. There are also, of course, around technology, and some of the examples I've shared here, around data privacy and data protection and trust. So it is that balance of what is the shopper getting back, what is the value for them, how easy is it for them to engage. I mean, some of these things we've been seeing around. I can remember a time when QR codes were all dotted all around stores, and relatively little shopper uptake with them. So you've got to bring the shopper on the journey with you, and make sure that there's an understandable benefit and advantage for them to use it. And of course, in other markets internationally, shoppers may be much, much further along that journey. If you go to a market like China or Japan, different forms of payment have absolutely exploded, and it's very, very well embedded. Somebody's asked, what is the biggest change you expect to see in UK grocery in 2020? Well, there will be a very exciting deck on that in the new year. So I'd really encourage you to log on to Retail Analysis, the website, and there will be articles freely available about that as well. So that's a watch this space answer, I'm afraid. Another interesting question here, small companies. How can smaller companies drive digital innovation? This really depends what angle you're coming from, what kind of small company you are. So if we think of startups and kind of very like SMEs, and you're a truly small business, there are lots of opportunities from both brands and retailers with startup labs and incubators and accelerator programs. I'm thinking of things like JLab, run by the John Lewis and Waitrose partnership, where they will support and accelerate progress alongside with you to help develop. So from a very small startup perspective, that's an interesting route. To take another angle, There's a lot of open innovation platforms. So thinking of the nature of Alexa skills and the kind of apps and development in voice, a lot of that is open platform. So there are opportunities for companies to get creative and integrate and be part of that voice experience. From a very product-led perspective, one of the examples in the deck, cargo, so that innovation is taking place, but of course there are opportunities for brands to get in that box that's in that Uber. So I think the lesson there is about understanding the new emerging things going on in the global landscape and seeing where there are opportunities and getting in early with those opportunities. And then to come at the same question from a retail perspective, obviously some of these technologies have high setup costs, but not all of them. So to take one example, in the UK, Budgeons has worked with Uber Market for a scan, pay and go app. It's high technology, but it's low cost because of that partnership model. So there are ways to test and play and trial without taking on all that cost and complexity internally. I've had a question, in terms of technological shelving, are there stats showing these actually work? So I'd point you back to that Coca-Cola case study with Albertsons and that 1 month return on investment. In cases like that, it's clearly working well. There's more information around that case study that I can point the person who's asked that question to provide a bit more detail, but it's looking at total category uplift there. And thinking about the relevancy of the content that you use in those sites. Another interesting example in that space, it's not always around necessarily price promotion, but again, an Albert Heijn example from Europe, where they've been trialing dynamic pricing based on the short shelf life of products, so products which are near the end of their shelf life, rather than having a kind of reduced to clear sticker process that we see here in the UK, reducing based on a very complex algorithm, reducing the price on electronic shelf edge labels based on time of day, weather, the location, the amount left in stock, all of that sort of information, which obviously have a bigger implication for measurements like waste rather than just driving total sales. Other questions we've got coming through. Do you really think the digital nose will become a big thing? Great question. It needs to be something that's appropriate for customers in that market or that region and serve a genuine shopper need. I think that's the key there. What is the shopper concern it's addressing? So if we look to Asian markets, it could perhaps be around concerns around food safety, where a tool like that might help alleviate those concerns around what is actually in the products and around traceability. That might not be the most direct way to get to that end result, and that more and more we're seeing different aspects becoming embedded into things like apps, so the technology that people already own, because it's already there in your pocket. You can trial it and build on that without having to go out and buy a separate device that you need to carry around with you. So it very much depends on what is the customer concern. I mean, you can see, again, thinking of food waste there, that kind of tool could help reassure customers in their, or consumers in their homes that the products that they're eating are fresh, if there's concerns around use by dates or best before recommended dates, for example. But I'm just making up reasons where it could be useful. If those reasons aren't in place, then it's unlikely. And we've seen all sorts. We track thousands of innovations here at IDD, and we see things come through that really spark your interest. And then there was one years and years ago called Chat Perf, with perfume that could be sent via your mobile phone. And you kind of wonder, where do they end up? And we do track over time kind of what happens to these different innovations. So that will be one we will keep an eye on. What do you think is the most exciting technology that is to come? So many choices. I think there's a lot of exciting things that I haven't covered in this presentation. Things like social commerce is one that our digital team here is tracking very closely. Selling through live streaming is another really exciting one. image recognition, so the ability to buy within the social media platforms, which we know are very popular, especially with certain shopper demographics. So to give you one tiny case study of image recognition, EasyJet in the UK has trialed a search tool that lets you scan or to use an image on your phone, and then it will tell you where that place is, so you can more seamlessly go through and book that holiday. And an example from China, Alibaba has launched a scheme, launched a trial over the summer based on a new legislation being brought in Shanghai, where the packaging recycling, you can be fined if you don't recycle properly. And within 48 hours of that piece of legislation being released, Alibaba was trialing things with image recognition and AI within its existing apps to help people recognize what packaging can be recycled and which recycling segment it needs to go into. So I think there's lots of exciting things to come around image, around social commerce, and all that sort of thing, which we're seeing really booming in Asian markets, making them an area to watch to see how it will flow out in different markets. Some other questions coming through. With digital applications in store, has there been an increase in the cost of products? I mean, in these instances, I don't think you can pass on the cost of the initiative to the consumer, especially where, I mean, a lot of them are designed around helping to support increased education, inspiration, and really encouraging and stimulating purchase. So the cost of putting them in place that we've seen isn't being reflected in an increase in the price of the product. No, but a lot of these are still in trial stage. They're in a limited number of stores. They're not across the entire estate. So it's very much about test and learn. Okay, I'm going to go for one last question before we run out of time. Let's have a look. Which retailer is the one to watch for these sorts of developments? Very much depends what sort of developments. Out of the breadth of different things that I've shared with you, Walmart would be a good one. And there were a couple of examples in my deck around Sam's Club and different things that Walmart's doing, the in-store robots as well for shelf scanning. And what's interesting about Walmart's strategy in this area is that they see this kind of digital innovation as a point of competitive advantage. They see it as something that helps remove friction. It helps them face into productivity and increasing costs. And it helps them connect all of their different channels to really achieve this omni-channel vision that we know is important for a seamless experience for those most valuable shoppers. So yeah, I'd say Walmart at the moment, particularly in the in-store and online environment, is a really good one to watch. Great, thank you very much. We've had lots of interesting questions come in. Thank you very much.